Hey everyone! Today I'm going to be telling you about the different books that I use to study Korean. My level is upper intermediate, lower advanced, and some of these books I've been using for years. Some of these books I've started using about 6 months ago, and I really love them. So I would just want to share with you, especially if you want to improve your reading and writing. Some of these might be very helpful to you. So let's go ahead and get started. So the first book I want to introduce you to is the 문화가 있는 한국어 읽기 series by Daragwan. And this one's my ultimate favorite. They have levels 1 through 6, and I started with 2 because I was a bit more advanced when I first started this book. But basically, it is a reading comprehension book based on Korean culture. In the first and second book, you get the title, pre-reading questions, vocabulary lists, and a few questions based on that new vocabulary. And once you go to the next page, then you get the reading. So you can see it's not very long, and the grammar is very simple as well. And once you're done reading and comprehending, you can answer the questions about the reading. Now, I like to read multiple times, so I always write little circles and check off how many times I read. That helps my fluency personally. When you go to the next page, there's a few more questions and then some additional information based on your reading. As you can see, this book is not very thick. There are 28 units, but they're pretty simplistic. I wanted to show you also the third one, which is the one I'm currently on. It's a little different. There's 20 units, and you still get the title and the pre-reading questions as you do in the first and second one, but the readings are a lot longer. They're about 2 pages. And in the vocabulary, it's next to the reading rather than on a separate page. I highlight the words that I don't know that are separate from the vocabulary words that I've already been given. And I still do the same thing when it comes to reading the book. This time I read with the CD, I read by myself and time myself, and then I also review. So once you get to the next page, there are way more detailed comprehensive questions. You can see a lot of fill in the blank here on the left, and then on the right, there are comprehensive questions to answer. I marked which ones I got right. I got 3 out of 4 of these questions right. But this is very good for really understanding what you're reading rather than skimming over what you know don't know and just knowing what you know. From the next page, you can also answer some more questions about the vocabulary. As you can see, I got them all correct. But then what's unique about this one is that you actually get to talk about your own experiences related to the reading. So this was about places in your town. So I filled out that entire section. And then there's one more page, which is just additional reading about the topic and also to get you thinking and talking about it. I just wanted to show you the 6th one really quick because I want you to see how difficult it does get. You still get that title page with the pre-reading questions, but as you can see, this is a thick story. It is going really in on those reading skills. And I also just want to close in on the vocabulary words. You still get those words, but this time the definition is not in English, it's in Korean. And you can see the words are much bigger, like paradigm. So it's really starting to test you and your ability to read according to context. And there's a lot more words to learn and read about. But it's super helpful when you're really staying consistent. And there are still questions, mostly about vocabulary and just a quick bit of writing and additional information. But just know that this is the final book in the series, so of course it's going to be a lot harder than that first one I showed you. Okay, so this book, Korean Grammar in Use, you've probably seen a million times when it comes to learning Korean. And that's because it's the best of the best when it comes to learning Korean grammar. They actually have this book translated into English, but they have available Chinese and Japanese and Spanish and Italian too, I believe. So here at the table of contents, you can see the grammar structures that will be learned. And then when you go to the beginning of a chapter, it tells you what kind of grammar it is and then the types of grammar that you'll be learning in that chapter. So when you open up the page, at the top you'll find the grammar structure, and it's usually the verb stem ending. Then you'll find the expression used in conversation, then an explanation of the expression, and then grammar conjugation for the parts of speech and time. Sometimes there are additional ways to use the expressions, which you can see in these yellow boxes. And then it also gives you some additional basically conversation examples with some vocabulary that might be useful. And then you can go ahead and put your knowledge to the test by answering a few questions. Then at the end of each chapter, you get basically a chapter test. So it goes over all the different grammar points that you learned from there. So that was the intermediate book, and I just really quickly wanted to show you the advanced book. The structure of everything is the same. You can still see in the table of contents all the different grammar points that you would be learning, but it is important to know that it is a lot harder. This is really a book for people who are learning academically, so they want to do something that's related to speaking, writing, reading Korean, rather than someone who just wants to have a conversation or simply just go to college. Otherwise, this book isn't any different. Also, the CD is included in the back of the book as well. So, if you wanted to listen to some of the conversations or the prompts, then you could. Something to note about Darakwan is that they do have all of their listening resources online, which you can access through the internet, or you can actually download the app on your phone or iPad. And each book does come with an answer key and grammar index as well. So all of those tools are extremely useful for additional studying practices. So I just want to quickly introduce you to the 9-year-old dictionary series. There are 3, however, I do only have 2 of the 3. So 9살 느낌 사진 and 9살 마음 사진. The one on the left is 느낌, which is feeling, and this one that I have in my hand now is the mind dictionary. So in the beginning, you can basically read how to understand and comprehend the book, but it isn't actually a dictionary in the traditional sense. It's kind of a story slash dictionary based on words that a 9-year-old would know. So at the top, you can see the word and then the definition in Korean, and then there's a short comic story on the left and additional situations in which the word would be used on the right. This is the perfect book for beginners because the grammar is super simple. It's color coded by the alphabet, the Korean alphabet, and it is just very adorable. It's very easy to read, and it's very easy to do like a couple in a day rather than trying to read an entire chapter of a more difficult book. I highly recommend this for people who are just starting. Maybe you've only learned 10, 15 grammar structures so far. If you're a true beginner, some things might be difficult because the style of writing is the standard style of writing. It's not conjugated. So it's more about the words that this is good for focusing on when you're studying than anything else. I just want to quickly introduce you to one more picture book. This one's called 망망아 뭐 그려, and it means 망망, what are you drawing? You can see the 2 little girls are drawing together on the front, and it's basically this short story about this girl. She's drawing different characters, and the other girl is questioning, why are you drawing that? So you can see here she drew a picture of a man in a dress. She's like, why did you draw a man in a dress? He shouldn't be wearing a dress. And it goes through this kind of conversation in such a childlike way that's adorable. It's all written in Panma, so it's super easy to read. You don't have to decipher the endings, and I totally recommend it. So this is the last one I use and totally recommend. It's all about writing Korean sentences. It's a book that actually comes in a 2-part series. So when you open up the flap, you can separate the 2 books from there. And it really goes into detail about how to write in Korean. So when you open up the book, it gives you details about how to read and use the book. It gives you a detailed list of contents, and it gives you detailed information about the specific grammar points in each chapter. So once you open it up, very similar to the other books. It gives you a little bit more details at the beginning of the chapter so you know what you're getting into. But look at this, all of this. So it gives you an explanation of what you'll be doing and some examples, and then you go straight in right away to writing those examples. So here are a bunch of verbs that I had to conjugate in different ways, and then it just continues on and on. There are a few words that were a little rough for me, and I don't like to write in if I absolutely have no idea. So I put them in squares, and you can see it obviously takes a lot of time, but this was so helpful. I learned a lot about my own conjugation mistakes and how to fix them, and it gives me so many details, and there are so many examples that it really is great if you learn a specific grammar point and you want to practice. And then here in this specific one, it actually gives you a paragraph that you have to copy, but you have to copy it in a different form of conjugation. So that was just super useful for me, and the book just continues on and on like that. So in the second book, it's pretty much the same thing. It's a bit more detailed, a little bit more academic. But in this book, there are actually the answers for the first and second book at the back. So you can check your work and see what you did right, what you did wrong, and hopefully you can use that moving forward to improve your skills. So I just wanted to add a couple of honorable mentions. I don't necessarily recommend them, but they are very useful. First is the Korean Picture Dictionary. I'm not going to show you inside, but I just wanted to show you this one because this one actually is very good for vocabulary building. It doesn't have enough to help you remember the vocabulary, but it does tell you a bunch of very, very useful words. And you can also get a Chinese and Japanese translation as well. And then the second book is the Hanja Guide. So I learned Chinese and Japanese prior to learning Korean. So this Hanja Guide was very useful because a lot of the words I learned in Chinese were similar to the ones in Korean, and I was able to remember this entire book very easily. So that's pretty much everything. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you in the next one.